What do you get when three home health PTs in a business suit discuss real-world clinician problems? Welcome to Home Health Suit and Scrubs, where home health clinicians meet the business side of care. We tackle a variety of topics affecting home health clinicians, ranging from safety and efficiency best practices to clinical issues and even career development in home health. Check out our website at careandmotion.co to learn more. I'm Dan Haggerty, Chief Revenue Officer from In-Home Therapy and founder of Care in Motion. In each episode, I'm joined by my good friends and home health physical therapists, Dan Catuccio, Lisa Thompson, and Brendan Kirby. I'm excited this week to keep the conversation going about when enough is enough. In today's episode, we'll build off of last week when we addressed a lot of the drivers behind dissatisfaction with the day-to-day of home health. We'll continue that discussion this week and talk about the supposed flexibility of home health when change impacts clinicians and what incentives can be used to reward therapists for the day-to-day grind.
Like we always, we were looking at some job postings and like just kind of like what are we like selling? Like what's the value proposition like from the employer side? Mm-hmm. And Lisa, you had said something about like, well, you got started because of the flexibility and things like that. And like, is it really flexible? Like, I feel like you sort of underpromise and overdeliver when you're selling somebody a home health full-time job, because it doesn't strike me as like it strikes me as a grind, right? Like if you're going to hit 30 points a week, and some places don't give you extra points for the drive time. Some places do, right? But it's like 30 points a week and the documentation that comes along with that and the driving that comes along with that. And, it's like, that's a lot. That is a grind. And it seems like it isn't sustainable for the long term almost.
I think, here, did you want to go, Lisa, or because I've got a few things to say.
Yeah, I got it too. I think it depends on what you're offering as a company and what's full-time, and a lot of different factors like territory. Are you driving a lot? Also your discipline, right? So a PTA versus a PT, right? These PTAs are seeing 6, 7, 8 people a day. There's not a lot of wiggle room. Like you're out there for a lot longer than me as a PT. I can see the same amount of points as a PTA, but I'm only seeing 3 or 4 patients, right? And I'm doing more heavy documentation, which I can do at home or I can do later in the evening. So it's flexible in the sense I can start my day later. I can end my day earlier and still see the amount of point requirements as somebody else that's working a longer hour requirement face-to-face. So I think that has a big thing with it about being flexible or not. But I think you talk about flexibility in home health, not so much as, yes, it is a grind. You're still working these 40 hours or these 32, 40 hours as you would any other job. The flexibility comes in of like, as long as I see my people, I don't have to tell my work what I'm doing, right? So if my kid has an appointment at 9 a.m., I can go take that kid to the appointment 9 a.m. and then I'm working a later day, right? Yeah. I'm starting my day at 11 o'clock and I'm working till maybe 6 or 7. That's where the flexibility comes in, is I can kind of flex my hours however I want and no one's like grinding me. I don't have to tell somebody, hey, I'm coming in later. I can kind of do what I want, but yes, I'm going to work longer one day.
And I think it also, it's like the little tiny wins of flexibility. Like one example that I give all the time on my, to my audiences has to do with me being able to get my kids on the bus. And I've been able to do that for a long, long time. Something very, very simple, unique, basic, but their bus comes at 8 o'clock. When I was working at the hospital, there's just no way that I would ever be able to do that, period. And so something very small, but right after the bus comes, and during the bus, by the way, I'm on huddle call, this and that, but then I'm on my way to work, but that small little thing. And then this week I posted something about one of the perks of home health, being able to walk through a store when it's not crowded, because I do all the time. And Costco, right? And some people were like, how can you go into the store when it's, what are you not, seeing patients in the afternoon? And, I'm working till 5. I'm like, listen, again, this is where, to Lisa's point, the company that you choose is really, 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 really important when it comes to, to your work-life balance. Because my company, when I was 40 hours for many, many years, I always, and this is the way that it was, and this had to do with the fact that my drive times were reasonable. I would see at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, every day for like ever and ever and ever and ever when I had routine visits. I'm talking like on regular days without evals. And I'd be done with patient care by 2:45, you know what I mean? And if I wanted to go to Costco at 3 o'clock, there's not a big long lines, right? So, the people that are choosing to do hour and 15 long routine visits, that's, to me, you have to find, it's an art. Like there's an art to finding how this can work for you and to work well for the patient. It's but I have to say, I'm sure you've seen this, Lisa, where I have people DMing me all the time, like, listen, like, how are you able to get your documentation done before you get home? Like, I don't know how to do this, right? And I'm like, well, tell me a little bit about your day. And they're like, well, I'm doing 4 starts. I'm like,
yeah, well,
if I was doing 4 starts, I wouldn't get home either. Like, this is for me, that's a huge, huge day. It's a wild day. Like for 2 starts for me, 2 starts for me is a wild day. You know what I mean?
They're working 4 days a week.
Huh?
Are they working 4 days a week, or are they doing 20? What is that? 20 starts a week? That's like,
I'm seeing some of these numbers coming in, and I'm like, listen, we're talking about sustainability. For me, 4 starts in a day, like I would be like, my brain would be like an egg on a frying pan by the end of that day, putting in 120 medications manually and this and that. So the moral of the story from my standpoint is like you have to really kind of do your research as to what a reasonable productivity expectation is before you'd accept the job, and what your drive zones are going to be. Because if Dan is driving, 5 to 10 minutes between patients, and this other person is driving 30 to 40 minutes between patients, our productivity expectations should not be the same. Like they shouldn't,
They still are, though. That's with a lot of companies. It doesn't matter.
But for me, I tell people you have to have a conversation with your boss on a case-to-case basis, because truly, again, for the whole sustainability thing, if you're really going to be getting home at 6 p.m. when Dan is getting home at 4, and you're seeing the same amount of patients and you're seeing them for the same amount of time, and the only difference is drive time, that's something that has to be considered.
Yeah. I tell them anytime they want me to go outside my territory, I'm like, you're going to compensate me for my time, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're having me go cover down south. Like, I'm going to put in an extra point, because the hour and a half drive that's added to my day, I could see a patient in that time, and I want that same compensation for how much it would be. Do you get money
for that, or do you just get, when you say put in an extra point, do you get paid on points, or you're just talking about productivity?
We can put in like NVA points, like non-visit activity points, and you can click a certain amount. And I know a lot of companies have, like, if you drive like 30 miles between patients or 40 minutes between patients, no matter what, even if it's in your territory, you can add like 0.25 points. So it really depends on your company and what their kind of policies are for compensation.
Yeah.
Can I switch gears for 1 second and just talk really quick about another time that we have to be really careful about monitoring our staff, as far as, are people looking to jump ship? Are people looking to leave? How is everyone doing? Is during major changes in the workplace, right? A company buyout or a merger and EMR change, all these things, right? So you've heard me talk about like checking in on your staff and like checking in to see how people are doing, right? We're talking, we should be having staff meetings, asking people how they're doing with these changes, because in every big work change or workplace change that I've been a part of, people always leave, whether it's back office staff or field clinicians, whatever it may be, because of the obvious. People know that going through change may present them with some, challenges and some inefficiencies that are going to take longer and this and that. So my advice to anyone listening is that if you are in the midst of a big change, if you're an administrator, you have to be having your barometer set to checking in and making sure people are doing okay with these changes. And I guess I'll just leave it there without getting personal.
And the easy part too, like, you know, I think we've talked in the past about how, you know, some of the comments that you guys have made, like I've shared with our clinical team too, and been like, well, why don't we just call? Has anybody called? Has anybody like met him for coffee? Has anybody had a conversation? Because it's like the distributed workforce that's out and about. It's never really, at least where I'm at, like together. And, you know, there's not a lot of in-person activities. You know, case conferences are by, you know, Teams meetings, you know, or a call. And it's like, and most of the interaction is almost like by text. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to have my one-to-one with them, you know, in a week, or I'm going to, oh yeah, I'll shoot them a text. And it's like, why don't we call? Like talk, like, let's talk. I mean, you learn
Like
so
we did it,
much.
like we did in the 90s.
Because we're gonna
You know?
ignore your call. If I'm
how
getting
are
a
you
phone
doing?
call, I'm going ignore.
Can you hear my
Oh, really?
voice?
You don't want
Are you
to,
doing
Lisa,
okay?
you don't want to call?
If it's from my office is calling, I'm usually screening it and seeing what the voicemail is before I decide how I want to proceed.
All
Because
I'm
I don't know
saying,
who's calling from the office.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. It could be the case manager, the scheduler, the branch director. It's just like one office number. So if they call me from their cell phone, which a lot of times our office will do, like if they call me from their cell phone, I know who it is. I'll either answer or I won't answer. And I always blame it on, sorry, I was with the patient.
I was doing a max assist transfer up the stairs too, by the way.
Yeah. Those were
My
Why
hands
didn't
were
you call
full.
back? I was with a patient.
But I
And
would
then what
call
about
back
the
if
next
it was
day?
like, hey, a check-in call, like, hey, I just wanted to chat, see how you're doing. Can you
Yeah.
call me back? I would call back and say,
Yeah.
like, hey, yeah, let's check in, let's chat. And that's where you
Yeah.
would get a lot of concerns. I know if I had one of those right now, I probably would have a good open conversation.
Yeah, would you feel comfortable like just saying, "Hey, I'm not happy because of A, B, and C," or would you feel like it's a setup, or I mean, would you be open?
Depending who was calling, but yeah.
Yeah. I've
Or
just
even a
always felt
check-in
like,
email.
yeah, like we do surveys, you know, and it's like at the end, you know, how happy are you and stuff, and you can, you know, sometimes those have to be anonymous for people to really tell the truth. So it's like I just
Yep.
always go back to,
Yeah. Until you get the email, like, you haven't completed your anonymous survey yet. Can you do that?
it's
Okay.
like, well, how do you know?
Sure.
I think
And at the
you were
end-
talking about PRN jobs. One of the other things that I kind of stumbled upon, I was looking at somebody that I would have expected to have accepted a patient because it was within their map and they weren't full. And I was like, I looked back over the course of like the previous 3-4 weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, they're never accepting anything on Thursdays. You know, so it was like some pattern.
Mhm.
And Lisa, you were talking about, you know, PRN jobs, but it's so easy to, like you said, pick stuff up. You know, that you can like slowly. It's kind of like you know, the phrase "don't jump off of one vine until you have another." I can't remember the phrase, but you know, it's kind of like, hey, this person is moving into a new job ever so slowly.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What are some things that would make you like push you over the edge to the point where you're like, I'm done. This is not for me anymore.
I think low census is a big one. And I know, Dan, you don't have this because you have like salary and a productivity requirement. But for a lot of the paid per visit clinicians out there, if census drops and you're not getting the visits that you need, you're not getting paid, right? And you only have so much PTO. And I think that's a huge one for why clinicians leave, or they start looking for other jobs and they look for PRN jobs, or they get a better offer out there and they just jump ship, right? Because you have, like, they're not, the company, they're not paying my bills. Like, I have to pay my bills. So I need to have the work to, and yeah, like home health fluctuates, right? It's always a little kind of up and down at times. But when it's a consistent low census and you're not getting paid, people can't live off of that, right? So that's, I think, a big one is if census is dropping. And then Yeah.
Or if they have to expand your map to get your points in.
Yeah. Or like if your salary, right, and your census is now dropping and they're saying, well, you need to meet your productivity, we're paying you, you now need to go drive an extra 30, 45 minutes to get that census, and now your days are much longer and you're not able to do the things you want to do, you're going to start looking elsewhere.
Right. And the other big one for those who are salaried and have productivity expectations, when they make those changes and they increase the productivity expectation, it is one of those things where companies really should be thinking long and hard before they do that, because that's the time when people are going to start doing those calculations in their head and be like, holy smokes, I'm going to be working 3 hours longer per week, making the same money. So that doesn't feel great. So let's think this through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This happened to me. I was like, I'm out. Bye. From 27 points to 30 points expectation.
Yeah, that's a big shift. It's a big
I was like,
shift.
30 points is a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a way to make changes that, like, because you mentioned, like a change, like a merger or a new EMR or whatever it might be? What's the best way to make a change like that so that you reduce the churn of your team?
I wonder if you're using a new EMR system of being lenient on productivity expectations, right? Because you're now going to have to, I know when I got a PRN job and I was being trained on a different EMR system, and I've been doing home health a long time, right? And I was like, whoa, my visits are taking 20, 30 minutes longer because I'm having to use a system that I don't normally use. And I was like, holy crap, this isn't worth it. I don't even want to work here because I took a PRN job using a different system. It's like, it's not worth it for me to go out and do a visit that takes me 3 hours when it should only take me 2 hours. I'm like, I'm working an extra hour and I don't want to be doing that. So maybe if you're doing a different documentation system, being lenient on that productivity expectation for salaried clinicians. And if paid per visits, maybe you're saying, hey, I know you guys are going to have to be working more over these next few weeks. We're going to give you an extra point a week to make up for that time. And that little bit would go, I think, a long way, right? To being, hey, we recognize this is happening and we're going to do something about it. So that person's going to say, hey, I can make it through this, right? I know, I'd be like, sweet.
I've experienced that a couple times, and it definitely helps, because that's the first thing people are thinking about is, this is a brand new system. It's definitely taking me longer. Like, is there some lenience in that has been really helpful. Yeah. It shows that there's a heart on the other end of,
I like the handcrafted heart. Do you guys do anything? Did they do any kind of like team building or rewards or incentives or like retention, or do you think mostly monetary based?
So that's a good question. I think that, we have a retention committee. I think this is where I struggle. I'm just going to say it. Like, let's just say, hey, we're going to, to thank you guys for, for what you've done. We're going to get an ice cream truck for 4 hours over here, 40 minutes away from your territory. And if you have a minute, stop by. Okay, what does that tell me? If I have a minute, stop by. Does anyone have a minute when they're full? Does anyone have a minute? This is what you need to say is, we're going to drop your productivity that day by 1 unit because we want you to come by, because we value you, right? Yeah. So I've experienced this too many times to count. And it's like, who's going when, if you have a minute, it's basically saying, we don't like, we value you to get this for you, but not enough to have you not bust your butt and then come for ice cream. You know what I mean? You're still having to sit. So for me, those things have just been like, so they've been hitting the mark so hard, but when it comes to other stuff, I don't know, Luke, do you have anything?
I think monetary values is always helpful, really. And like what you're saying with, hey, we're going to give you we're going to compensate you for this extra time. And I know it's like we have the same things like, hey, come in, we're doing tacos at our meeting after the meeting. But it's like, well, like it's far away from me. You know, I have to drive an extra 40 minutes. This doesn't start till 10. I can't get anybody at 9. So I'm not starting my day until 11:30 with
Right. And I
no
still have the same
change,
amount of patience. Right.
with no change in like pay, right? So now
Yeah.
I'm starting my day at 11:30 and I'm working longer other days to make it up.
Mhm.
But if they're like, hey, we really want everybody to come in for this meeting, like we appreciate you, we're going to give you an extra point for your day for it. Like,
Yeah.
awesome. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah, I've envisioned this. There are certain companies that do it, and I'm sure it could be done by, you know, ourselves. But like so not points like productivity points, but you get like, I mean, we were jokingly calling them tokens, but you know, you get like little like Chuck E. Cheese tokens, but like that can be redeemed, you know, at the company store, and you can redeem them for PTO days, or you can redeem them for like company swag, or you can redeem them for like gift cards and stuff like that. Like I've always wanted to put together some sort of a program like that to like sort of monetize appreciation, even though it kind of, that
Mhm.
sounds bad. Like I
had
think, did you do that?
we had that at my old company. They called my kudos, and you would be able to write a kudos card to anybody could write them about something good a clinician did or a coworker did. I think even sales gave them to like patients, and patients could write, or like
Oh, like if a
facilities and
patient
stuff.
really wanted to recognize you?
Yeah, or like if a patient, like we get the patients get the surveys, and if they send in something about you specifically as a
Yeah.
clinician, the office staff would write the kudos card, and you would be recognized at like case conference. They would read them off, and each kudos card was worth like 100 points, and you would
Mhm.
be able to cash them in into the company store. And they had like really nice things, like headphones and like actual stuff like you would want, right? Not just like branded water bottles.
Mhm.
Um, like legit things. And so that was nice.
Yeah.
It would be a good way to give recognition and get recognition at case conferences.
I had a whole business case that included branded water bottles, so I'll just pitch that one.
Just give them.
No.
No one. I'm just kidding.
I'm kidding.
I
It
don't.
didn't include branded water bottles.
You know, like those like plastic water bottles.
Right. I was thinking Yetis, but
Oh,
I would
no.
take
well, there you go. I'll take
Yeah.
I'll take
Yeti
a
as well.
branded Yeti.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take a nice
Like the
Karen
real
Motion.
deal. Yes. Yeah.
Real deal. But you know, like those like plastic ones with the like those sport plastic
Yeah.
water bottles.
It's like full of BPA. It's like got all the toxins.
Extra BPA.
Leave your water in your car, like
microplastic.
your yogurt.
Good times.
I just think like when you look at like employee retention and satisfaction and all the different levers, it's like it's comprised of so many different things, right? It's like, okay, what's the day-to-day expectations? Like they always say, like when you think about like your, you know, the old saying is like your airline, like, well, there's an expectation that they're going to get me from point A to point B safely. So I don't judge my airline on the fact that I didn't crash. You know what I mean? So like in home health, it's like, there's an expectation that I'm going to have a reasonable territory. There's an expectation that I'm going to have a full census. There's an expectation that I shouldn't have to work 50 hours a week. So then like, those are like your, you know, the I always go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you guys remember that from like, you know, school?
Wow.
Where it's like,
This is like
I know.
like this moment.
I know.
Of like,
but like your basic needs, right? Like, you know, safety and food and shelter and stuff. It's like anybody should be able to provide that. So like once you start to go above that, like what are the components that separate one employer from the other? You know, is it a retention program? Is it the kudos points? You know, is it just a phone call from your manager like out of the blue to check in? You know, is it like a random day off or an extra point for doing a favor? It's like it's just interesting to think about. And for every person, it sort of is a little bit different. Like Dan would take the phone call and Lisa would avoid it, you know, things like that.
Yeah, we still be like, I like someone's calling.
Yeah. Ignore. I think
The other thing too.
the problem is you can have all of those great things, but if you don't have the foundation, that's when everything crumbles, right? Like if I don't have a census, or my territory is
Right.
all over the place, or like the coworkers that you work with don't communicate well, and like you feel like you're always going above and beyond for your patients and no one else is, that can be a frustrating thing as well. So, and there's not a lot you can do about that, but having good staff, good office staff, I think really goes.
We've always talked
a
about
long
how
way.
important that relationship is with the scheduler. It's like if you don't have that relationship or communication, you're like, screw this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing, and also the other thing, the obvious, I would say, the benefits from that a company offers. If you have company benefits, because I mean, I think there are probably times where like you could be lukewarm about the job that I don't know, the productivity expectation, this and that, but like your benefits are like impossible to beat. Like there's no one that offers anything even close. So that's where you got to be super careful, because like Lisa said, like those things all might be great, but if you're in the middle of a twister, a tornado, and you're like, I don't like the way this feels, even though the benefits are amazing, I mean, then maybe it is time to look elsewhere. I mean, one thing that we have as a benefit of being healthcare professionals, depending on I've never had to look hard for work. It's been a blessing. I mean, I've been out for 21 years now. And I used to be a traveling therapist, and then, a permanent. I've never had to look that hard. And that really is a pretty stinking nice to say. But sometimes you go on, huh?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sometimes you go online and you look, and there's like, my gosh, 50 jobs in your, 30-mile radius. And
that's why
it's crazy.
I think it's so important that like you have to be treated like if you look at the cost of hiring a new employee, you look at the damage that's done when you have a period of time and nobody's there. And it's like the fact that you guys have so many options. I mean, you could literally probably quit tomorrow and potentially have, one or two new opportunities by, Friday. You know what I mean?
And
So
you get the interviews like that. Like I've gone on a few interviews and like they're already giving you the offer letter like at the end of the interview. Like I fill out an application, I'm getting an email and a call like that night or the next day and being wanted to talk to me. My husband's trying to find a job, and it's like he's in like the tech whatever world. He's filled out many applications and get no response. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's a whole different world. Healthcare, you fill out application, they're like, can you start tomorrow? Like we don't even care. So there's plenty of opportunities out there. It's just a matter if you want to take them or not.
Exactly.
You're like, honey, why can't you get a job? I just got 5 offers today.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you got a call back? How does that feel? That's fine.
Well, any last thoughts? Any other advice for somebody like me that's looking to keep a team intact or hire additional team members?
I think I made my point.
Yeah.
I think, you got to look at productivity expectations. You got to look at territory. And I mean, just when I was inexperienced and immature, I'm still immature, but I was inexperienced at the time. When they were like, hey, how many, towns of these could you like take? I was like, I could take all of them. I can take 15, I'm like this proud, like 20 something. I'm like, I could do them all. And it's like not knowing like a lot about it. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a setup for failure. I mean, truly, that was a setup for me saying that I could take that many towns, So I just feel like
set you up for failure too, though. Like I've seen maps where somebody had their house up here and their territory is here, and it's like, you guys, we knew this couldn't last more than 3 or 4 months. Like,
right.
I think we should do a whole episode on like what to look for and asking questions for an interview for home health, because I was the same way. I came from like a SNF and I got my home health interview and I looked at the numbers and I was like, my head exploded. I was like, wow, you're going to pay me this much, $110 for an admission visit? That is amazing.
Yeah.
Me
right.
now, if you told me that, I'd be like, absolutely not. This is
Yeah, right.
insulting, right?
Because you know,
you don't
right.
know, you have no idea. So I think we should talk about that.
Yeah,
And
good idea.
That can be the next one.
Yeah.
Could
That can be
be.
the next one. But for tonight, I think we have learned a tremendous amount. At least I have. I love watching I'll since I participated in it to begin with, I always watch it a second time in like 1.3 speed or something, and I'm like clicking away and taking notes and stuff. But there's a ton of good ideas here that I'm going to make sure at least get passed along on my end. So thank you guys, especially right in between your birthdays.
Today is the meat in our birthday sandwich.
Birthday Eve. I'm taking my birthday off. I have not done that often. I've got my birthday off tomorrow, so I'm pumped.
Nice.
You deserve it. Well,
Thank you.
Lisa, happy belated birthday. Dan,
Thank you.
What's the opposite of a belated birthday? Happy pre-birthday.
Happy post-birthday.
Yeah. And
Birthday.
as usual, visit us on caremotion.co. And
Thanks for listening this week. Remember to check out our website at www.caremotion.co, which is filled with resources and products curated specifically for the home health clinician. And be sure to subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.